Hand grenade! I choose you! Ooh, that's not pretty. In fact, you could say, it's per-ugly! Alright, fine. I love Pokemon. I really, really do. In fact, it's probably the franchise that I've talked about the most on my channel. Classical RPGs, weapons I wish actually existed, best villains, and need we forget the entirety of Pokemon? Well, it looks like you all like to hear me talk about it as much as I do, so here we go again with my top 30 favorite pocket monsters. With more than 650 Pokemon currently in existence, it's safe to say that your favorite probably won't be mine. If not, I'm sorry, but just remember that nothing I say here is official, and that there are so many fantastic Pokemon that are impossible to cram into just 30 spots. In fact, I had to expand this list from 15 because there were just so many Pokemon I wanted to talk about. I only have 2 rules for this list. First, only 1 Pokemon per evolutionary line. Second, I won't be considering any Pokemon that have been revealed for Gen 6, since all we really know about them so far is their appearance and their name. Also, keep in mind that while these may be ranked, in actuality the margins between my affections toward them are slim to non-existent. I just love them that much. Get ready for a nostalgia meltdown. These are my top 30 favorite Pokemon. Meet Toxicroak, the venomous ninja of the Sinnoh region. And I'm not even kidding about that. Out of all the poison-type Pokemon, Toxicroak is arguably the most dangerous one you will ever encounter. There are many factors which go into that statement, but let's start with the stats. With a base stat total of 490, Toxicroak's stats overall are pretty average. However, its attack stat is what makes it stand out. Toxicroak has the highest base attack stat out of all poison types, reaching a maximum of 342. This insane attack stat, combined with its poison typing, basically shows that Toxicroak was born to kill. Sure, its other stats are somewhat mediocre, but all you'll really be caring about is dishing out pain. As if that wasn't enough, Toxicroak also has access to a number of very powerful attacks like Poison Jab, Sucker Punch, Sludge Bomb, and Nasty Plot, and that's just by level up. If you want to go the extra mile, Toxicroak is also able to learn Focus Blast, Giga Impact, Sludge Wave, Earthquake, Cross Chop, Gunk Shot, Dark Pulse, and many, many others. Also, we have to take abilities into account. If you can find it, I recommend getting a Toxicroak with its hidden ability Poison Touch, which has the 30% chance of poisoning the opponent on contact. Needless to say, when I wanted to deal out damage fast in my Sinnoh playthroughs, Toxicroak was my main man. Also, doesn't Toxicroak just look the part? I'll admit that Croagunk looked kinda derpy, but Toxicroak looks like he's saying, bro. Don't even bother trying. Another thing that stands out about Toxicroak is its type. A dual poison fighting type, Toxicroak and its pre-evolution Croagunk are the only two Pokemon so far to have this type. Sure, it does give them a 4 times weakness to Psychic, but just teach it Sucker Punch or Foul Play to make up for that. In conclusion, Toxicroak may not be my favorite poison type, but it's certainly one of the most deadly. If you ever run across a Toxicroak on your way to work, stay the hell away! Hey Big the Cat, you say you're looking for your pet Froggy? Well, here you go, sucker! Don't let the poison hit you on the way out!
Jesus.
Meet Mienshao, the Pokemon equivalent of Jackie Chan. But wait, didn't you say you don't like fighting types? Why 2 in a row? Yes, I did say that. However, in that video I was talking about the types, not the Pokemon within them. And besides, Mienshao is the exception, not the rule. To begin, Mienshao has a base stat total of 510, which is already good in its own right. And just as you'd expect, it has superb attack, special attack, and speed with somewhat mediocre defenses. It's your basic fighting type more, sweepers to the end. Its moves are also rather mainstream as fighting types go, with several powerful physical attacks like High Jump Kick, Aura Sphere, Focus Blast, and Bounce, and with only the occasional special attack. This setup of attacks makes Mienshao a bit predictable in a single battle, but can pull off some wicked combos in a double battle with a decent enough partner. One of my personal favorite combos is this. First, make sure Mienshao has the Regenerator ability, which allows it to regain 1/3 maximum HP after switching out. Next, have it hold an item that boosts the power of fighting type moves. Then, teach it Endure by breeding and Reversal by level up. In a double battle, have your Mienshao use Endure right away, then have your second Pokemon use its most powerful move on Mienshao. This combined with any attacks from your foes will most likely get it down to 1 HP. In the next turn, have Mienshao use Reversal and watch your enemies go flying. Even a Steelix will have a tough time recovering from a blow like that. However, the thing that makes Mienshao truly stand out from other fighting types for me is its design. Unlike the designs of most other fighting types, which are all burly and muscle-bound, Mienshao's design is actually somewhat elegant and dignified, as if to say, yeah, I can wipe the floor with you and stay classy while doing it. In short, Mienshao is a very reliable fighting type for Unova that's easy to use and difficult to defeat. It may not be the best fighting type overall, but I like it, and that's why it's on the list. You know, life is hard. The world can be unfriendly, people can be cruel at times, and there are so many things going on at once that they're hard to keep track of. Sometimes, it's too much. Sometimes, it gets the better of us. And sometimes, don't we all wish we could just be a Snorlax? Snorlax is the most carefree Pokemon you will ever see. All day long, it does nothing but eat, sleep, be merry, and get up and dance whenever he hears music play. Maybe not the most productive lifestyle, but certainly a very enjoyable one. Heck, Snorlax is so lazy that he'll lay down and sleep in the middle of a road, even with who knows how many trainers pestering him to move. But he doesn't care. He's a Snorlax. He can just flatten them all in one fell swoop if he wants. Speaking of flattening opponents, don't let that plush exterior and that lethargic behavior fool you. Snorlax is quite the powerhouse when he wants to be. With a base stat total of 540 and extraordinary HP, attack, and special defense, Snorlax has a ton of potential to work with. Sure, it does have pathetic speed, but did you really expect this guy to turn into Usain Bolt? I didn't think so. With access to moves like Rest, Crunch, Giga Impact, Swagger, Protect, Hyper Beam, Mega Kick, Belly Drum, and even Surf of all things, Snorlax is a hilariously annoying Pokemon to unleash on your opponent. Belly Drum, Rest, and Chesto Berry combo? Yes, please. Of course, we can't truly talk about Snorlax without mentioning Ash's Snorlax. Debuting in the appropriately named Snack Attack, Ash's Snorlax was simple-minded but also very entertaining. In most of his appearances, he cared for little more than food, even to the point of trying to eat Misty's Goldeen. However, as time went on, he developed a lasting trust with Ash, and while he didn't turn up very often after the Orange Islands, he was very reliable when he did. Whether he was chasing Ash dressed as a giant apple, fending off a Feraligatr in a sumo match, taking out foe after foe with its Hyper Beam, or defeating Team Rocket simply by rolling over, Ash's Snorlax was always entertaining to watch. On a side note, Snorlax is my mother's personal favorite Pokemon, and it's not that hard to see why. With a likable personality and a deceptively powerful moveset, Snorlax is a real heavyweight in the Pokemon universe. It's a bird! It's a bird! But trust me, Staraptor is much more than just your average bird. Straight out of the gate, Staraptor has a base stat total of 475, as well as extraordinary attack and speed stats. In other words, if you're looking for a physical sweeper, he's your guy. Granted, its defense and special stats are rather poor, but I guess you can't have everything. Not to mention, it has Intimidate as its default ability, which takes care of that problem right there. In battle, Staraptor has a number of possibilities at his disposal. You can go the offensive route with damage-dealing moves like Close Combat, Brave Bird, Return, and Sky Attack. You can go the annoyance route with moves like Double Team, Stand Attack, Aerial Ace, and Roost. Or you can even go with a Stat Fighter with moves like Agility, Feather Dance, Tailwind, and its previously mentioned ability Intimidate. Unlike a lot of Pokemon that have one strategy of using them that most trainers will use, Staraptor has a good bit of adaptability to be whatever your team needs. And, as always, being able to learn Fly is a great convenience on your Sinnoh playthroughs. Design-wise, it's also pretty cool. Based on both the white-cheeked starling and many birds of prey, Staraptor certainly looks the part of the powerhouse bird that it is. In the anime, Ash's Staraptor wasn't very well fleshed out, but it was quite the honorable bird. Always determined to become stronger and very prideful when he did, Staraptor was a very loyal companion to Ash and really showed the extent of Ash's bonds with his Pokemon. Staraptor as a whole may be the standard bird Pokemon of the region, but he has some serious potential in battle should you take one under your wing. Say hello to the First Lady of Pokemon, Nidoqueen. From her humble days in Kanto all the way up to today, Nidoqueen has made quite a name for herself as a woman who knows how to give out pain. Starting off with a base stat total of 495, all of which are very evenly balanced, Nidoqueen can both give and take a decent amount of punishment. This is also reinforced by her moveset, which is comprised of a huge number of insanely powerful moves from nearly every type in existence. Body Slam, Earthquake, Superpower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, Fire Blast, Outrage, Stone Edge, Iron Tail, Aqua Tail, the list goes on and on. With some proper planning and some creative use of TMs, you can make Nidoqueen into a very unpredictable barrel of death. Oh, you're trying to one-up me with a Psychic type? BAM! Shadow Ball! Bet you didn't see that coming! Oh, you're trying to escape my ground attacks with a flying type? BAM! Stone Edge! In your face! Nidoqueen also has a few tricks up its non-existent sleeves with abilities. Poison Point is much like the previously mentioned Poison Touch, in that any contact with the Nidoqueen results in a 30% chance of the opponent being poisoned. Rivalry is a bit of a wild card. In Nidoqueen's case specifically, if the opponent Pokemon is a female, the base powers of all Nidoqueen's physical moves are raised by 25%. However, if the opponent is a male, the powers are reduced by 25%. I personally would recommend getting a Nidoqueen with Poison Point. But if you're the gambling type, Rivalry might work for you. Now, something a lot of you are probably wondering is why I chose Nidoqueen instead of Nidoking. And truth be told, that's a very good question. In most aspects, Nidoqueen and Nidoking are very similar. Their base stat totals are the same, they have very similar movesets, and their types and evolution methods are the same. The differences between the two are their designs, and that while Nidoking is slightly more offensive, Nidoqueen is slightly more defensive. Honestly, it just comes down to personal preference, and I always liked Nidoqueen more for some reason. With that in mind, Nidoqueen is a great Pokemon for you to have on your team in any playthrough. If you happen to have a Moonstone on hand, don't vie for a Clefable. Instead, get yourself a girl who can truly hold her own ground in battle. Long live the Queen! If you ask me, Wobbuffet is the ultimate underdog in the world of Pokemon. At first glance, nearly every aspect of its design seems to work against it. However, when you put those individual aspects together and look at the big picture, it manages to pull off a fighting style that is not only incredibly unique, but is also incredibly effective in the right hands. First off, look at those stats. Crazy, right? Wobbuffet's HP is off the charts. However, its defenses are mediocre, and its attack and speed are absolutely pathetic. Immediately, this will turn away a good majority of trainers. However, for the rest, they might take a look at the moves Wobbuffet can learn. By level up, Wobbuffet can only learn 4 moves: Counter, Mirror Coat, Safeguard, and Destiny Bond. Again, a good majority of players will be turned away by this fact, since Wobbuffet cannot learn even a single move that will directly attack the target. It also cannot learn any TMs or learn moves by tutoring or breeding. At this point, I think it's safe to say that about 95% of the people who caught this Pokemon have now stored it in their box never to look at it again. However, that last 5% are truly the smart ones, because they were able to see the big picture of Wobbuffet's design. The entire point of using Wobbuffet is to absorb damage before reversing it onto the attacker. The moves Counter and Mirror Coat will take the last amount of damage done to Wobbuffet, double it, and then throw it right back in the opponent's face. However, Counter only works with physical moves, while Mirror Coat only works with special moves. The tricky part comes in trying to guess what move your opponent will use, and therefore whether to use Counter or Mirror Coat. Because Wobbuffet's HP is so high and his defenses are so low, he can take a huge amount of damage, yet still survive, and then blast it right back at the opponent at double the potency for an almost guaranteed one-hit KO. And before you go thinking that you can beat it by poisoning it or something like that, Safeguard prevents your opponent from placing status effects on your team, protecting Wobbuffet from any means of attack aside from a direct attack, forcing you to take that risk. Also, if Wobbuffet ever gets into trouble and all that HP starts to run out, he can use Destiny Bond and take one last opponent with him should he faint in the next turn. Better yet, if you evolve your Wobbuffet up from a Wynot, your Wobbuffet can learn Encore, which prevents your opponent from using any attack other than the one they just used for 5 turns, taking out that element of guessing the opponent's attack entirely. Even better still, by combining the effects of Encore with Wobbuffet's ability Shadow Tag, which prevents switching an opponent's Pokemon out of battle, you can create a death trap from which your opponent literally cannot escape. And now, those wise 5% of trainers are laughing their way to the Pokemart as all their opponents crumble before them, unable to escape their inevitable doom. The only true counter to a Wobbuffet is to send out a Dark type on which Mirror Coat will have no effect. But even with that one weakness, it's still a fantastically creative Pokemon. I honestly don't understand why Jessie didn't use her Wobbuffet more often in the anime. Sure, it was a bit stupid and popped out of the Pokeball at the most inopportune times, but that thing could have destroyed everybody with the proper care and guidance. Ah, clever Game Freak, how clever thou art. Contrary to the deceptively powerful Wobbuffet, Skarmory is one of those Pokemon that you know is going to be awesome right from the get-go. I mean, just look at it. It's a bird made out of steel. Not only does that give it a slick appearance, but it also makes for one of the best sets of battle properties you'll find on any Pokemon. Being a dual steel flying type, Skarmory may be weak to fire and electric, but that's more than made up for by its 9 resistances and 2 immunities to poison and ground. So, as you can see, Skarmory already has a pretty good edge on a good majority of the Pokemon it will come up against in battle. But wait! It gets better! While its stats may not be that great overall, basing out at a meager 465, that outstanding defense stat complements its many resistances, just like any steel type should. Additionally, Skarmory has access to many moves of many different varieties. With moves like Spikes, Metal Sound, Steel Wing, Autotomize, Air Slash, and Night Slash available just by level up, you can create a very well-rounded moveset for Skarmory without even having to break out the TMs. Of course, if you really wanted to, you could also teach Skarmory X-Scissor, Fly, Flash Cannon, Sky Attack, and many other powerhouse moves. Skarmory's moveset may not be the most powerful, but it is very dependable in many different situations, making Skarmory a Pokemon that's difficult for your opponent to get rid of. But really, the reason why Skarmory is on this list is simply because it's cool. I know that's some pretty petty reasoning on my part, but hey, that's why these are my favorites, not the best. Doesn't Skarmory just look cool to you? Seriously, it's a steel bird! Do I really need to justify with anything else? No, I really don't. I'm with Leedy on this one. Meganium is not nearly as bad as many people make it out to be. Sure, as a grass type, it has many disadvantages up front, but with the proper strategy, those disadvantages can be overcome, and even reversed. First off, let's look at stats. Something rather unique about Meganium is that it's very defensively based, which is rather unusual among grass types, which are usually based in special attack. And a base stat total of 525 is nothing to smirk at either. Its moveset also complements this, with access to moves like Aromatherapy, Safeguard, Light Screen, Sweet Scent, and Synthesis. Meganium is very adept at being a supporter Pokemon for double and triple battles, alongside the defenses necessary to hold its own. However, should the need arise, Meganium is also capable of dealing out some major damage with moves like Body Slam, Petal Dance, Solar Beam, Leaf Storm, and Frenzy Plant. Meganium can be used very effectively in both respects, so you can choose whichever strategy suits you best. Personally, I prefer the former, as Meganium is one of the few supportive Pokemon that actually knows how to take a hit. I'm looking at you, Alamamola. Granted, it does have 5 type weaknesses, which is never good, but at least those defenses give it a fighting chance against those pesky fire types. Outside of battle, Meganium is very charming. Its appearance is rather cute, and its nature is usually very playful or optimistic. According to Pokedex entries, Meganium can calm aggression in other people just by the smell of its flower, and that it can restore dead plants and flowers just by breathing on them. In the anime, whenever a Meganium did show up, it was usually very caring. Even one of the infinitely cloned Nurse Joys had a Meganium that was very much the pacifist. At the end of the day, Meganium is a very charming Pokemon. Ruthless in battle and gentle on the sidelines, Meganium is certainly one of the best. As far as normal types go, a good majority of them tend to be rather cute, but I personally think that Lopunny is the cutest of them all. I mean, it's an anthropomorphic rabbit, which is a caricature of bunny girls in modern popular media. But it has the ability Cute Charm, which infatuates the opponent on contact. The Pokedex entries. It is very conscious of its looks. It kicks with its graceful legs. The moves, it can learn moves. Yeah, like Charm, Attract, Sweet Kiss. I need something to unawkward this. 1-to-1 gender ratio. That ought to do it. Well, putting aside Lopunny's concept, there is quite a lot to like about this Pokemon. Now, if you think you're gonna take your Lopunny into battle and wreck the opposition, you're gonna be a little disappointed. It can learn a few powerful moves like Jump Kick and Bounce, but for the most part, you're not gonna be doing any major damage with Lopunny. Instead, there are two typical routes you can take with your Lopunny, either as a stat fighter or as a supporter. If you chose to go the stat fighter route, Lopunny can be hilariously annoying to send out into battle. With moves like Attract, Defense Curl, Agility, and Charm at its disposal, Lopunny is very handy at redistributing stats. Better yet, with Baton Pass, Lopunny can pass its stat boosts onto another Pokemon, such as the Sweeper or Tank, to make their use even more effective. My personal favorite though, ironically, is Magic Coat. Basically, after using Magic Coat, any status ailment that would hit that Pokemon in that same turn are reversed onto the user. It's a bit difficult to time, but a well-placed Magic Coat can cripple your opponent's team. Alternatively, if you choose to go the supporter route, I find Lopunny to be one of the best at the job. With moves like After You, Entrainment, and Healing Wish, Lopunny can be a great choice to bring along for double battles. The job of a supporter Pokemon is to help the other Pokemon on your team become even better, and Lopunny is very good at doing just that. With Entrainment in particular, you can pass off the Cute Charm ability to one of your allies, or, if you happen to get stuck with the Klutz ability, you can pass that off to one of your opponents too. Oh, you thought you were gonna pull a fast one with your Quick Claw? Not anymore! Oh, you think my Slacking is a lazy bum? Well here! Bet you're not laughing anymore, are ya? While not the most conventional strategic Pokemon to use, a great supportive Pokemon like Lopunny can have a very big, albeit indirect, role in how the fight plays out. About a year ago, I remember a Lopunny practically carried my team through the Elite Four on a playthrough of Platinum. Additionally, there is one Lopunny in particular that is well deserving of mention. In one of the 5 special episodes released for Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky, you can take control of an exploration team called Team Charm, which consists of a Medicham, a Gardevoir, and their leader Lopunny. Medicham is the tough guy, who isn't always so tough. Gardevoir is the intellectual and indifferent type, and Lopunny is the fun-loving goofball with a love of adventure and a never-ending curiosity of the world. Take a wild guess which one's my favorite. At the end of the day, Lopunny may not be the uber-powerful Pokemon that everybody aspires to have, but with some proper strategy, it can completely catch your opponent off guard. Lopunny is much more than just the token girl of Pokemon. And the sooner the fanfic writers figure that out, the better. Okay, everything I've talked about with previous entries, stats, moves, abilities, battle strategies, yeah, all that gets thrown out the window with Piplup. Why is Piplup one of my favorites? Because Piplup is a baby penguin. Do I really need to justify with anything else? I know that's really petty of me, but there's really no other way I can say this. Sure, Empoleon is a much better Pokemon concerning its battle capabilities, but I always just liked Piplup. It's so cute, it's so fun-loving, and it's a penguin! Okay, I guess I should explain the whole penguin thing. After I first saw the movie Happy Feet in theaters, there was about a year-long phase of my life where I was totally obsessed with penguins. They were my favorite animal for a long time. I even had a collection of stuffed animal penguins going. It was also during this time period that I first played Pokemon Diamond, and as soon as I saw Piplup, I didn't even hesitate to choose it as my starter. I may be well past the penguin phase now, but Piplup still holds a warm spot in my heart. Oh, and Dawn had a Piplup, but nobody likes Dawn, so let's just forget about that.